This is Terry Kurtz online reporting on Victor Valley, High Desert, and Mojave River Valley events, activities, entertainment, sports, and history. We commence this report with the interview's concluding remark, a prediction on how much our area will grow in the next 2 decades.
Terry, let me conclude and make a prediction. I believe the high desert, the way that we measure it today, my prediction is this region will absolutely double in size. That I see the high desert doubling in size in the next 20 to 25 years.
From Coda to Da Capo, back to the beginning of this Joseph W. Brady interview.
Industrial commercial development projects ahead.
Terry, for I think the first time ever, and we do a lot of this, we do a lot of these films. I'm going to do this one, I think, really for our clients, future clients, and even people that, they could be working with another broker. It really doesn't matter. For background, my name is Joseph W. Brady. I'm president of Joseph W. Brady Inc. DBA, the Bradco companies. I've been observing the high desert region, or now we call it Mojave River Valley, for 36 years. I moved from Santa Barbara 34 years ago. We incorporated on December 4th of 1989. We've owned Coldwell Banker, Golden West Real Estate in Barstow. We've owned the Barstow Real Estate Group out there. We published the Bradco Desert Report. We're starting to prepare for our 60th edition. We printed about 300,000 copies. The Bradco Companies was originally Bradco Development. Now it's Bradco Companies. We're a full-service commercial brokerage firm. The secret to our success is that we hire a lot of consultants that are smarter than us, and we refer our clients to those people. I'm also proud to be a trustee at Victor Valley College, where I've been a trustee since February of 2011. I've won 3 elections. We helped create 3 economic development councils and organizations in the early years that we were here. We've been really involved. But for really, I think the first time, Terry, as you remember, we went into that recession in the early 90s when George Air Force Base closed, and it cost us 10,000 jobs. And that lasted through the end of the 1990s, when housing was about 85,000, if you remember, on a median price. Then it shot up to, in 2007, to 330,000. Then when Lehman Brothers blew up in October of 2008, housing went from 330,000 in the next 18 months down to 105,000 here, really clobbered. 26,000 homes in the high desert or the Mojave River Valley region were foreclosed. And a lot of people lost their jobs, and there were a lot of social impacts. We saw crime increase, we saw welfare increase, saw all kinds of stuff. In the meantime, we've seen a relatively slow growth spurt as we've rebounded. I mean, things have gotten better year by year. They probably started to pick up in 2013, 2014. We're now in 2022, and I see nothing but a great economy long term. Now, there's some caveats. We have a lot of land out there, so if somebody believes that they have land out in Lucerne Valley that they may think might get $20 a foot someday, it might be a long ways. But I see things within the 5 incorporated cities growing, so let's kind of highlight that a little bit. And I'm going to take people kind of on a drive, pretending that they've been on Interstate 15. They've come on up from the Cajon Pass. When you get to Highway 138 within the next 2 years, you're going to be able to turn right on 138 as one of 3 entrances into what is called Silverwood. So Silverwood is the former Las Flores Ranch project that was approved back literally right after the city of Hesperia incorporated back in the late 80s, early 90s. Through a lot of changes and the fact that Highway 138 wasn't going to be widened the way that it is today, they ultimately put a big fat loan out. They lost to Wells Fargo Bank and went in foreclosure, and the Terra Verde Group with John O'Haney and his partners were able to pick it up and renegotiate a deal with the city. So that project is fully approved. It's called Silverwood. They just had their grand opening last month at the end of February. It was great. It was a beautiful day. Ray Huerta, a lot of the great partners from DMB, so David, Mary, Boy, are involved. So I would suggest people go take a look at their website. These are master plan community developers that know how to create a community and really create a community, not a bunch of streets and walls that look fancy with landscape, but community centers, parks, the neighborhood commercial, schools, pathways, walkways, and all that. So at full build out, they have 9,633 acres, absolutely some of the most pristine land that you'll ever see. They have a full entitlement for 15,663 residential units. It's a 30-year project, but I believe they're probably going to be out there in 25 years. It's $7 billion worth of real estate. They have started grading. They will have their model complexes open hopefully by Super Bowl Sunday of 2024. They're initially going to grade 2,104 lots. They'll probably produce 600, with all the utilities and double purple pipe for sanitation, and to be able to use that water again for landscaping. All drought tolerant landscaping, all solar on the roofs. A very well thought out design. So 138 will be one of two ways to get in the project. You'll be able to continue down 138 to where 173 splits off, and you can go into Hesperia that way, and you'll be able to go up. I think what they're going to call it is Las Flores Parkway is what they were talking about doing, which I think would be pretty smart. Or you could turn up Santa Fe and come in Santa Fe that way to Ranchero and turn right and come in. Or you can proceed up I-15 and get up to Ranchero Road, where that brand new, literally $40 million interchange that burned down once and got rebuilt is done, and you'll be able to turn right and go down Ranchero, where they're spending $52 million a day widening that. Sully Miller got the project with Vince Bommarito as project manager. So they've got that. So you'll see, I think, a fair amount of commercial development along that corridor. I see probably a grocery store somewhere around Escondido and Maine. There's a couple other nodes. We've got 31 acres that we represent for a client there in Santa Fe that will do well. So Hesperia is going to see a huge growth with that over there, and then with the 232 gross acres that Covington Capital had over right where 395 comes together, where Caliente and I-15 is. They sold the first parcel to a company called Modway, and Modway built a little bit over 1,050,000 square foot building. That should be open by April. They had a delay because the roofing systems now for these big buildings are taking 12 to 18 months in order to pre-order. There's two other buildings going in next door with Exeter, and then Ken and his partners from Covington Capital are going to build a spec building. A little bit over 1 million square feet. They're estimating right now that rents will be probably 65, 70 cents a square foot on a triple net basis. Same building down below right now would be $1.10 a square foot triple net. Land values in that area right where they're at, we're probably looking at a $25 to $30 a foot value today. If you're in Fontana, you'd be at $92 a foot. If you're in Ontario, you're $107. If you're in Orange County, you're at $190 to $200. If you're in Batting Beaumont, you're at $25. So that corridor right there along 395 is going to have some major development. And Terry, just today, in doing some very, very, very rough numbers based on, the map that we've got right here that we've had, prepared, we're looking at probably about 12 million feet of space coming in along that corridor within the next 4 to 5 years. So going up further on up 395, we kind of skirt part of the city of Victorville that split. You got residential development on out there. You can get in Adelanto, and Adelanto's had a tremendous growth spurt in Industrial Park 2 and 3 with marijuana cultivation. So Park 2 was 160 acres, Park 3 is 288 acres. Probably, I would guess today that there's probably 3.5 million square feet of cultivation that's gone on. It's created a couple thousand jobs out there and created a fairly good tax base, I think, for the city. I think the city's been able to finally get its arms around. Jesse Flores, city manager's tried to get his arms around being sure everybody collects it. Mayor Gabriel Reyes and his council are very staunch supporters, but they want to be sure that everybody pays. So you've seen great growth out there. And then as you travel up where 395 splits off to on Adelanto Road, between Adelanto Road and 395 and on the north side of Rancho Road, I think my good friend John Connolly with CPI Capital has represented, I think, a buyer that is close to purchasing what is Joe Policano's big chunk of ground there, and you'll see some commerce come in there. And then at the southeast corner of 395, southeast corner of Adelanto Road and Air Expressway, David Maliski and his son had a 396-acre piece that was entitled for 7 million feet, and they just bought another 110 acres gross, 110 acres for $2.90 a foot. Okay, land that I thought was worth about $30,000 an acre. They just bought that, and talking to Dave recently, he's a very prominent land developer and a building developer. He's got a pretty big portfolio. He's going to relay out his buildings and probably put 1 million square footers, and then lay those out so that they'll get built. Then as you go down Air Expressway and you look to the north, you know, Southern California Logistics Airport, 5,000 plus or minus acres, former George Air Force Base. Dougal Egan and Chris Downey did a great job with Sterling. They came in and kind of, you know, fired up that deal. They helped facilitate about 3,000 jobs out there. They built about 5 million square feet of space. Anita Tuckerman was the property manager out there. And Ken Shear in Covington, you're talking about a company that's really taken a big bite of the apple on up here. They purchased 3.4 million square feet in November for $270 million with their equity partner. And they've got a couple other things that are kind of in the works out there that are really exciting. Jumping over to back to Victorville. Victorville is trying to do some redevelopment work down in Old Town. They've got a couple of proposals for some multi-family housing. They've got the big homeless shelter that was just approved by the council. Go Victorville. Thank you, council. Thank you, the majority of the council members that voted for it. It's a very expensive homeless. It's really a wellness facility. We have a homeless problem here. Barstow has one, Redlands has one, San Bernardino. Those 4 cities have one. So, you know, I applaud the city. A little bit slow, not the city, but just the process to get where it was. They had an ad hoc committee that I'd like to take off my hat to them. They did a lot of work. So that's going to kind of redefine, I think, what goes on downtown. I think that, you know, once we can get the homeless problem taken care of, maybe a couple housing developers come in that understand how to rehabilitate an older area, then all of a sudden, you know, money starts going in and additional dollars go in, and you know, you see this. They had a large success down Temecula on Old Front Street. They've had in Banning, they've had in Yucaipa, Beaumont. Lancaster just did a great job over on Lancaster Boulevard with bringing housing and restaurants and a performing arts center. So I really see some great things going on there. And then housing will continue, I think, to grow in Victorville. I mean, there's still a fair amount of ground, but the city's looking at bringing in about 10,000 additional acres off of Stoddard Wells Road on out there, and that's going to be prime for industrial development. You jump on the other side of the river and you get into the town of Apple Valley. There's now really a big play between some big parcels on I-15 for industrial. So I'd venture to say if we play this in 5 years, that the town will have approved probably close to 10 million feet of industrial space, which will create other opportunities in the residential market. You've got the Bridle Path project that Strata has fully entitled. They're going through the process of extending some of their tentative maps. It's a 664-acre piece, absolutely probably the finest piece of property for an estate-type residential deal as you can find. I think the timing now is right for them to have that discussion with some really solid developers. They have 1,102 lots. I'm going to give a big plug to Doug Robertson and Orlando Osvieto and Daniel in planning. We had an issue a couple months ago on that project, and the town stepped up, and they stepped up very quickly within literally hours to accommodate what we thought was the right buyer, but sometimes it's not the right buyer. You know, you think they're the right buyer. The town really wants to be sure that project has the right home builder, because you'll be able to look out towards where Brightline's going to be. You know, that Brightline 264-acre price property has been purchased for, you know, rail for the speed train. That was purchased for $10 million. I would say, Terry, that on the Brightline, which I think is the biggest game changer of all time. I know that Brightline is trying to decide, you know, we've got a good relationship with one of the major contractors that they work with. And up until recently, it looked like there was a go for first quarter of 2023. That may change a little bit. They may change how they're going to do the design build. But I think at the end of the day, if I were a betting man, the 264 acres in Apple Valley at the southeast corner of Dale Evans and 15 is still a doable deal. I think there's going to be something down near Ranchero in Hesperia for people to get on there. We have 90,000 people that go down that hill a day. We have 30,000 that come up the hill. So the last segment will take you from Ranchero roughly down to the Milliken Metrolink station, which will be a total different transformation. The environmental impact report is due to their city council, Rancho Cucamonga, I think in November. We anticipate approval. So that changes that whole thing. So you've got all that industrial, quality industrial that will go out in Apple Valley. You've got the residential component. So we've talked about the 4 cities. There are 5 cities. We are a huge supporter and a strong supporter of Barstow. Barstow was at one time the largest city in the high desert. There's been great rivalries between Victor High and Barstow for years and years. My wife and I and Bob Hubbard and many others built a subdivision out there called Barstow Highlands. Barstow, I think its day's coming. Burlington Northern Santa Fe, BNSF, a company that's owned by Warren Buffett, has a big interchange facility out there. They brought in an intermodal and spent about $30 million on what they thought was kind of a temporary one. That's what they told everybody. I think it holds room for about 600 trucks. It's working all the time. They bought 1,100 acres from Robert Yu and Kimberly Yu back in, I think, December of 19 for, like $10-12 million in cash. I was fortunate to represent Walmart through JLL out of the East Coast with a sale to them. And then they have bought an additional 1,000+ acres along Main Street between Linwood Road and Hinckley Road. So we anticipate there'll be some real big announcements. Raising Cane's has gone out to Linwood. They're knocking out of the park. We understand doing $175,000 a week. You've got a new, I think, 4-story Marriott coming on in there. It's a dual. I think it's a Fairfield combo Marriott. So that's under construction right now. So that should be done here probably within the next year. Dutch Brothers just opened up over off of Main Street. Just opened on up. There's a line out on the street. They have a new KFC. There's going to be a brand new Starbucks built where the Burger King is on East Main. So there's a fair amount of money flowing on in. And then we've got the Shops of Spanish Trails, which I'm proud to be the master developer of. There's an entitlement of 112.4 acres, 800,000 square feet. Unfortunately, my partner, Mel Riley, became ill. So we're going to we're redoing the land plan right now. We're working directly with Willie Hopkins, the new city manager, and Brad Merrill and Chris Heldreth and their great staff, Corian out there. Redoing the specific plan, doing a parcel map, and then we'll probably be selling out some of those parcels. So we think Barstow's got a great opportunity. We're currently in escrow right now with a developer here. I can say his name is Chad Schowles with Cornerstone Development. I'm proud of Chad. I think he's just a real up and coming young man who really, I think he has a vision. He is very analytical. Dr. Stan Papelbaum and Cyril Turner agreed with me. We interviewed a bunch of builders and we just finally chose him. So he'll hopefully close here, I believe, by June. He just put a fence up around the site, spent $60,000 to fence it. So he's got 100 and I think the approval was 147 lots. I think he's going to come in, I think, with 135. So he's going to make the lots a little bit bigger. So we see such a clear vision, now that we're where we're at. And so people worry about what are interest rates going to do. They're a psychological bump. They're going to slow down some of our growth. What's inflation going to do? It's a serious problem, and our president better get his arms around it, because if not, I don't think that you're going to see a whole lot of his friends in Congress or the Senate or the presidency in 2024. Gas price is really the unknown. $6 a gallon hurts. Gas has gone up $1.30 a gallon just in the last year, Terry. It's kind of crazy. I can tell you, I know every Costco in California and Utah and Nevada and Arizona. That's where I go. So, I can't get at a better price than that. So I think that our governor, I think our assembly, our state senators, they need to come together and stop pointing fingers. I think our Congress, our senators, and our president, they need to figure out something. I think we got a great country, got some great opportunities. I think the war will go away over in Russia sooner than later. But inflation is going to have a huge impact. But is it going to slow down the high desert? I don't think so. I think that if Brightline moves ahead, which I do believe it will, it'll be the game changer on how people will be able to move around. And with the industrial companies on up here, I have to give a plug to my favorite community college where I'm a trustee at Victor Valley Community College under the leadership of Dr. Daniel Walden and John Allen and Todd Scott and just some Art Lopez who you know. We have positioned for this growth, but we need to get the right students to the right place to be sure that we get them on out in the workforce. So there's just some really exciting times. So we encourage people to go look at our website. We're not here to sell you land or sell you building. If we're the right broker, great. If not, there's plenty of brokers on up here to do business with. I think that we tend to call things the way it is. I have no board directors, so don't worry. It's not a popularity contest at 65. I can afford to call it the way it is, say it the way it is. And Terry, let me conclude and make a prediction. I hope anybody watching this can go to your calendar and go out 20 years, okay, and mark it down as March 23rd, 2042. I believe that the high desert, the way that we measure it today, and that's from the LA County line over to Lucerne Valley, and from Highway 138 and I-15 out to Newberry Springs and that area. We have about 475,000 residents. I know our college district covers 2,000 square miles. I know our company covers 3,000 square miles, and the Great Mojave Water Agency is just a very well-run agency that manages our water and our water resources. They cover over 4,000 square miles. So let's say we use the same 3,000 square miles that I think would be close. My prediction is this region will absolutely double in size. And I know that the challenge that the region will have is keeping up with infrastructure and who's going to pay for it. Sometime in the next couple of months, I'm going to sit down with you and kind of do an overview of a big report that was done. I have it on the back of my desk. It's been there forever. I got it in 1990. Chairman John Joyner, I don't know if you remember John, Supervisor Joyner. He commissioned a report to talk about the infrastructure needs of the Victor Valley. And at that time, I think they came out and, based on voodoo growth or whatever, it was like $1.2 billion. Well, one of the things I want to do is sit down and go through that report, kind of look at it objectively, do a video and send it out to the 5 city councils and say, growth is going to come here now no matter what. If you're in Southern California, there's only 3 places you can go anymore. It will be the Antelope Valley, it will be the high desert of the Mojave River Valley, or the Coachella Valley. Soon we will be doing or announcing probably an annual event that will be sponsored by France Publications. And this year it looks like it's going to be June 20th, and it's going to be at the University of Redlands. And what is it going to be? A comparison of the development and economic opportunities between the Coachella Valley and the cities of Palm Springs, Cathedral, Cathedral City, Palm Desert Rancho, Mirage, Indian Wells, on and on, down to Indio, compared to the 5 cities on up here. And at this point, the plan is to have, brokers from up here, commercial brokers up here. We've given the list that we think really represent the players on up here, and the brokers down there on the panel. There'll be lenders. We'll talk about industrial. But Terry, there's no other place to go. There is literally no other place to go unless you want to get down to Imperial County. Nobody wants to be in Imperial County. So years ago when I came out here, Dick Turpin, who was he was the real estate staff, not writer. He was the director of the real estate section for the LA Times. That was a prominent job. He talked about the donut effect. He wrote a big article. This is 35 years ago about the Antelope Valley, and we would all come together. I can see if you're up in heaven 100 years from now that you'll see the Antelope Valley and the Victor Valley grow what we've got to do is figure out where we're going to get the water and how we're going to best manage that. But and then where the infrastructure is going to come in, there's no doubt in my mind, sitting here at 65 years old, that I see the high desert doubling in size in the next 20 to 25 years. So I plan on being here to see that. I might have a second home in Prescott, Arizona, but this is still my home, my primary home. And I just see some great things. I see some great things for the next couple generations of people that are going to get in the business, and hopefully they're going to enjoy it as much as I have. So.
Interviews with Joseph W. Brady are published regularly online. Search Joseph W. Brady, Terry Kurtz, YouTube. Joseph W. Brady may be reached at jbrady@thebradcocompanies.com.
We are at the Apple Valley Legacy Museum. Did I say that right, Marcy?
Yes, you did.
The Apple Valley Legacy Museum.
Hi, I'm Marcy Taylor, and I started the Apple Valley Legacy Museum as a sister project to the Apple Valley Legacy Trail. And we're at the Bob Hope Cottage at the Apple Valley Inn, number 153, right below the trail and right below the historic Hilltop House. Yes, you did.
The Apple Valley Legacy Museum. Let's take a look inside and see the journey through history that the museum provides. What all is on display here, Jim?
Over here in the corner, we have all the ranches with Pearl Bailey's ranch, the Murray Ranch. Joe Louis was there, and they attended a rodeo out here. And Ebony magazine came out here to write it up, and he was surprised to see Joe Louis. So then they asked Joe Louis where he was staying. He said he's staying over at the Murray Ranch. So they went over there and got the girls and everything, and a big write-up in Ebony magazine.
Well, we have tried to display all aspects of Apple Valley history. Of course, we have Apple Valley Ranchos and Bass and Westland stuff. We have extensive Roy and Dale stuff. We have the Terry Lee Dolls represented, the fire department, the school district, the Apple Valley Dairy.
The second thing is the paraphernalia from the inn when it first started up. Then we have a display of the Roy Rogers toys. Then we got some pictures of the families and everything. Then we got a piece here about the inn, or the Hill House, what's going to happen up there.
We have all the newspapers, the old Eva Conrad newspapers, and all kinds of documents, lots of things from the 40s and 50s, and a lot of old-timers are reliving their early lives over here.
Then we got more paperwork for all the activities that were here. Then we got the movies there. That's some of the movies that were filmed in Apple Valley.
We're open at this point 7 days a week, 10 in the morning to 7 in the evening.
Jim, do you have a favorite display or something about this that you enjoy most showing and explaining to the visitors?
Well, usually the Apple Valley menus and the old things up there, and the thing about the pigeon.
Tell us about the pigeon.
Okay,
I'm
outside
going to pigeonhole you and have you tell us about the pigeon.
Okay, outside each room there was a cage with a pigeon in it.
Yeah.
And back in those days, they didn't have the telephone or any way to communicate.
No cell phone?
No telephone, no cell phones. And I think the drums were forbidden then.
Probably, yeah.
So then,
Rancho's restrictions.
if you want a dinner or something to drink, you'd go out and write a little note, stick in a pigeon's foot, throw it up, and it'd fly over to the inn.
Come meet Willie, the carrier pigeon, now in residence at the Apple Valley Legacy Museum.
We've been having several visitors on almost every shift, and our advertising has really gone out now, so we're hoping that we're going to get more visitors, and we're directing people to other local things and restaurants and things around here, so we're trying to be good citizens, and this project is backed by the Chamber, by the Apple Valley Historical Committee, by Mojave Historical Society, the Friends of the Library. We also have a Friends of the Library display, and we're pretty excited about it. The town has come together. Our mayor alarmed it for free.
Not alarming? Community support in motion. May we make the motion and second your invitation to attend the Apple Valley Legacy Museum ribbon cutting this Wednesday afternoon.
That's a wrap on this edition of Terry Kurtz Online. On behalf of Victor Valley Television Productions, thank you for watching. We hope to see you again next time around.